Yeah, and so let's just talk about that. I think most people listening to this podcast, like you were doing these independent movies, and then you sort of transitioned into doing more commercials. Now you're coming back into the features, but I think most people would intuitively think you go from commercials to features and you never look back to commercials. What is the hook for you to go and shoot commercials?
Yeah, I mean, and when I was first doing features, I was like, I never thought I would do commercials, to be honest. But for me personally, I mean, the major factor was kids. After my second kid was born, which is, she's 5.5 now. That's when I sort of got burnt out on movies and was trying to figure out something that was better for work-life balance. And in commercials, like with Breach, I had to go to Georgia for 2 months, and that's tough. Whereas the commercial, a much more contained shoot schedule. Where it's 1 to 5 days max. So I think that was really appealing, just because it just is a thing where obviously having kids just kind of changes you in that way, but then I do just always end up missing movies, and then I talk my wife into letting me do another one, and then then I don't miss them again for a bit, and I'm sort of burnt out again, and I'm like, okay, now I got to do another one, and so sort of finding that balance where and I'm always very appreciative for the opportunity when I get to work on a movie, and but it takes a lot of energy, emotional, physical, mental, and so you have to be very focused on it for that period of time, and that sort of means that there's other parts of your life where you can't disconnect in the same way you can when you're doing a commercial. So I think that's kind of what attracted me to it. Sure. And but I know it's kind of backwards, but for now it's worked well as our kids are young. Like I was totally done with movies and got like a full-time job working as an agency producer. So like producing commercials. And then I started directing commercials. And then now I've started my own company, Natural Selection, directing commercials. But it was kind of like a total reset, and it was someone having to take a risk on me because I had no experience in that field. And it's sort of a funny thing where when all you've done your whole life is movies, it doesn't prepare you for very much outside of that space. So
let's talk about working with Bruce Willis a little bit. And you just mentioned the Die Hard commercial. So maybe talk about that a little bit. Was the Die Hard commercial before Breach, or was Breach after it? And how much did that relationship play into you being the right director for one versus, once you had a relationship with Bruce Willis and he likes you as a director, it must make it easier to then get on the feature or the commercial, depending on which came first.
Yeah, so the feature we shot last October, November, and then the commercial is sort of a funny thing where I think I was talking similar to how I ended up getting 2 spaceship movies in a year. I have the agency, they were like randomly had this commercial with Bruce Willis, and I was like, I just worked with him, so I had to bid on it, and I definitely think it probably helped that I'd worked with him recently, and we got along well and everything. So I think that definitely helped me in the bidding process. But we shot that, in the middle of the pandemic, and I'm trying to remember when. I think it might have been July or August, maybe August. But we were in, the middle of all of it, and trying to shoot an action commercial like that, where you can't have anybody close to each other, and we had to shoot all his scenes. Like whenever he's in the car, we had to shoot him alone on a green screen, and then add in the actor who played Argyle. We had to complement with visual effects and all that stuff, making it with visual effects. And we had to actually build an advanced auto parts store rather than shooting a real one for COVID safety. So, it was my first time doing something in the COVID era, and it's very different. And it requires a lot more planning and thinking through things.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. If you'd like to hear the full interview, just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcasts, or to go directly to the episode, just use the link in the show notes. Thanks for watching.